Hello everyone, what's going on? Back to another of my YouTube videos. Today I'm going to be bringing you the new elements tier list in Shindo Life. This includes all of the new elements, as you can see. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to like button, subscribe, leave a comment if you want more, and tell me if you want more Shindo Life content, and I will bring it to you guys. Alright, so the element we are actually going to be starting off with here is going to be acid. And now the reason for acid being the one that we're starting off with here is because acid is the newest element. So acid here is going to be A tier. Now, I am going to be organizing how good they are in their individual tiers as well. So the top of the tier will be the better ones and the bottom of the tier will be the worst ones. But acid is going to be A tier simply because acid is a better version of liquid, and acid is just absolutely insane. If any of you have ever seen the showcase, unfortunately I do not have any I can't show you anything for acid because I actually have not unlocked the element yet, but I have seen it in showcases and such, and it is literally just liquid but much better. It slows people down, it does tons of damage, and it's just actually insane. It's such an insane element in the game. It's actually broken compared to the other rare ones. If you want to get an element, I would recommend getting acid. The next one we're going to be doing is air. Now, air is actually going to be B tier. Now, the reason for air being B tier is because there's not actually a better version of air yet in the game. And air is just really good for area of effect stuff and knocking people back. Air is just really useful, as I said before, for knocking people back. So if like you need range, you could just equip the air tornado thing and just use it to knock people back. Also, air is also extremely good for just damage. Air does a ton of damage. You guys would actually be surprised by the amount of damage that air can actually do. Air is actually just insane as an element, and I can't wait for when they make an overpowered version of it. The next one we're going to be doing is combustion, and probably as you guys can tell, is going to be A tier, but is actually going to be below acid. Now the reason that is below acid is because combustion is just a pure damage. It is just purely for damage. That's pretty much all it does. It's just damage. It has no utility, and most people in this game use bloodlines or their mode abilities for damage. They don't really use elements for damage. Though, if you do use elements for damage, combustion is definitely the element that you should use, because combustion does the most damage out of any element in the entire game. It even does more damage than Yin and Yang, and Yin and Yang's damage is pretty disgusting, as I'll discuss later in the video. But combustion has a bunch of attacks that do a lot of damage. It has pretty good area of effect with its dragon abilities and its flame breath, and it's just overall a really good damage element. You should get it if you're looking for damage. Next one we're going to be getting at is fire, and fire is actually going to be D tier. Now the reason why fire is D tier is because, first of all, there's a better version of it, combustion. Combustion is literally fire times 2. It is fire times 2. Fire by itself is terrible. It doesn't do enough damage to be considered be worth putting in a combo build, but it doesn't have any utility at all because it's just a pure damage element. It's a terrible element to use when combustion is a thing in the game. If combustion was not a thing in this game, fire would actually be one of the higher damage ones. But since combustion is a thing, it is actually going to be D tier, because there is no reason why you should ever use fire over combustion. No reason at all. It has no utility. The next one we're actually going to be getting at is liquid. Now, liquid, even though there is a better version of liquid in the game, liquid is actually going to be C tier. Liquid is C tier because it actually has utility. So even if you don't have acid, you could actually use liquid, because liquid has utility. It slows people down. It may not be nearly as good as acid, but it still has the utility of slowing people down in the game. It is actually still extremely good at slowing people down. That's basically the whole point of it. It also has extremely good area of effect, and it has decent damage. It's not as much as fire, obviously, because fire is a damage element, but it does have utility, which is why it places higher than fire. Not as good as acid, though, so it is lower than acid, obviously. Next one we're going to be getting at is Shiver. Now, why is it not working? Okay, Shiver, I'm actually going to be putting Shiver at the top of A tier. Now, this may be controversial to you guys, and to the people that actually listen, you'll understand why I put it here. Shiver is the number one, no, not the number one anymore, but it used to be the best combo extender element in the entire game. Shiver's stuns are absolutely insane. It may not do a lot of damage, but if you have Shiver can be used in basically every combo in the entire game, because the stuns that Shiver delivers are insanely long. They are really, really long, and it's from an element too, so it's not even bloodline related. You could use Shiver stuns and still use bloodlines. It's absurd as an element. It's extremely good for combo extending. It's extremely good for stalling people out when you need to charge your chi. Just throw a Shiver ability out and then you can charge your chi after that. It's just extremely good as an element in this game, and it's also one of my personal favorites. Now, you guys may be saying, "Oh, wow, that's biased," but you know, there's bias in every single tier list in the game. It's actually just pretty much based on what people like. If they could explain themselves as I explain myself, though, that's why. Shiver, good for combo extending, good for stalling people out, and just good for stunning. That's the whole point of the element. Now, as I just did Shiver, I'm going to be doing Shock. Shock is going to be C tier with Liquid, though I'm going to be putting it below Liquid. Now, the reason why I'm putting it below Liquid is because I don't feel like Shock is very good. I genuinely feel like Shock is really bad. Though Shiver is like really good, Shock is really bad on the other hand. Shiver being in the game obviously puts Shock lower because Shock loses its utility factor to Shiver because Shiver just does it better. Shock also doesn't do that much damage, though Shock does have the ability where you can like run really fast with the Rasengan or whatever it is. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Shiver has the same exact thing, but literally just better. It's just better. That's why Shock is actually going to be low C tier. It still has a bunch of utility in case you don't have Shock. It can still stun. It's just not as good as Shiver. Stone. Stone is actually going to be the top of B tier. Now, the reason why Stone is the top of B tier is because Stone is actually used in a bunch of one-shot combos. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Stone has an ability that basically wraps walls around you and your opponent, and then you can just pummel them with abilities while you're in that ball. It is just extremely good for one-shot combos, and it also can be used for blocking abilities, which can actually save your life. So if you, in case you're a really defensive player, get Stone. You could use the Stone Wall to block abilities and such. So next one's going to be Yin and Yang. I'm going to be putting these guys both on S tier. I'm going to be putting them both in 1 because it's practically the same exact thing. Yin and Yang, they have the same abilities. They're just different colors. But Yin and Yang abilities do not carry over cooldowns. They are just broken together. So basically you could use Sword Flash Yin, Sword Flash Yang. Instant 70k damage from those two abilities. They do a shit ton of damage. They also blind people when you use it. They do a lot of damage. They have a ton of utility. They have mini stuns. They can blind people. They have a bunch of mobility built into them. And they're just overall really, really good elements. You should try and strive for getting either Yin or Yang combined with one of the better elements. Because, you know, overall, that would just carry your build. That would carry your combo if you just have those things. But yeah, that's actually going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, comment, if you want more, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.